Welcome back to the BDU Shooting Academy. In the last episode, we covered a couple good things, including the 4 cardinal rules of firearm safety. Always shoot your guns as if they're always loaded. Keep your finger up and off the trigger until you made the conscious decision to fire. Be aware of your target, what surrounds it and what lies beyond it. And always point your gun in a safe direction, or your muzzle in a safe direction. We also covered how to pick up a gun safely, how to manipulate it in your hand safely while you're at a gun store, and how to act in a gun store, how to ask questions, and also how to interact with everybody in the area while you're handling multiple guns. In this episode, we're going to cover what you need to know about actually holding the gun with a proper grip. So we're going to go over the importance of the grip. We're going to go over building the grip, and then we're going to cover a couple things that you can do with your forearms and your wrists to help with that grip and really dial it in. We'll start off with the most basic thing. We need a dominant hand. So whichever one that is, that's what we're going to start with. So we're going to take our dominant hand and the beaver tail and the web of your hand and contact them as tight as possible, like you're trying to push your hand through push the gun through your hand. Okay. After that, you're going to wrap your middle finger, your ring finger, and your pinky finger as tight as possible under the trigger guard, and have your middle finger tightened all the way up onto the trigger guard. Okay, so you're trying to eliminate space here, eliminate space here. We want to do that because if you don't, that creates pivot points, and it's not going to be as clean of a motion or as clean of a grip as you would want it to be. So with that, now that we have our first part of our grip, we're going to show you how to put the other hand on. So next step is try to get your thumb out of the way just to make it a little bit easier for you to inlay your hand here. But you see this big area, this surface area where it's pretty much empty. That's where this hand's going to go. Okay? So what we're going to do is we're going to kind of put our hand next to the gun like this. And if you notice, I'm going to try to make a straight line with my thumb here all the way to the back of my palm. And I'm going to line it up parallel to the frame, just like that. Okay? And it's almost like I'm doing this, like I'm trying to do a weird handshake. So we're gonna align our hand like that. We're gonna wrap the rest of our fingers under the trigger guard just as tight as possible, just like your first hand, your dominant hand. So all that contact area is completely full. And if you look under here, both palms are all the way around the grip. This is going to give you the most optimal grip because there's more surface area being covered. Okay? So with that grip, it gives you a lot of opportunity to use both hands to grip the gun. We won't go into the heavy debate of which hand is supposed to grip the most, how much you're supposed to grip with each hand. I'm just going to start you off with something simple. Grip the damn gun. Okay? Put both hands on the gun. Squeeze the gun with both hands as tight as possible. If anything, if you want to bias one hand, you're going to take your non-dominant hand. That's going to be the driving force of your grip. Mostly because when you start to isolate your trigger finger, it's going to be really hard when you're tensing up that whole fist on your dominant hand. So you can relax a little bit if you want, or you can just grip the crap out of the gun with both hands. It's okay either way. We're most likely not going to even cover what's the difference between that. So just grip the gun, okay? Next thing that you want to try to do is you want to try to activate your wrist tendons and your forearms so that way it keeps the gun nice and locked down, so when it recoils, you're not bending at your wrists. So the way to do that, or at least one way to do that, is to try to practice flexing your forearms as much as possible, but still being able to do this and control your fingers, okay? But you shouldn't be able to move your wrist that easy. So what that does is when the gun recoils, instead of recoiling on your wrists and the gun tracking like this, the energy transfers to the next least path of resistance, which is probably going to be your elbows, and we're going to learn how to fix that in recoil management, so don't worry about that now. But ultimately what we're going to try to do is we're going to try to take that energy and send it to your shoulders, because we want that pivot point to be where it ends. So this is how you know that you're using your forearm muscles to lock your wrists up. So if I were to hold the gun out like this and not put any tension on my grip whatsoever, there's really not much going on with the forearm muscles, but once I start to actually grip the gun, like if I was actually shooting, all those muscles get isolated and flex and tighten up, so now my wrists are nice and locked. Importance of a grip, it plays along with everything, but for the most part, if you're in a situation where it requires you more than one shot and you have to shoot rapidly, it's a lot easier to shoot rapidly when the gun does this as opposed to this, okay? So we're trying to keep it as flat as possible so it returns back to 0 as fast as possible. Again, the important parts of the grip is going to be try to get as much contact area on the gun as possible and just squeeze the living daylights out of the gun. And from there, you can roll into new fundamentals of holding the gun and managing recoil and all that stuff. So for this episode, try practicing that, just building that grip consistently from whatever position that you want, but try to mimic that space area that you've seen on this video. And it'll kind of feel a little bit weird and awkward, like you don't really think that you should be holding the gun that way. But once that gun goes off, you'll see exactly why. And I'll kind of explain in just a quick detail of what I mean by that. So you'll probably see a lot of different grips. Pretty much the most teased grip is going to be the teacup saucer grip. And what happens with this is you basically don't have any grip on your support hand, so there's really no point in even putting your hand there. You're shooting just the same as if you were to shoot with just one hand. And then the other one is the low choke, thumb over thumb, kind of like old GI style. And maybe one of these, or never one of these, because especially with a semi-auto pistol, that slide coming back is going to bite the crap out of your thumb. So with a semi-auto pistol, you can even kind of mimic the same hand placement on a revolver. It's just slightly different, but pretty much what you want to try to do is encapsulate the whole grip of the gun and eliminate every single pivot point so the gun stays as flat as possible in your hands when you shoot. So with that, we're going to roll into episode number 2. We're going to talk about sights and how to see them, what you need to see, how to focus on certain things, and things that you might not even know, like which one's your dominant eye. So with that being said, we'll see you later.